All right, let's do a show, friends. Welcome to another edition, a Checks the Watch Tuesday, the 19th edition of Inside Coverage here on Yahoo. I'm your humble host. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Thank you for being here. We're here Monday through Thursday, every day during your football season at 6:30 Eastern Time, live on YouTube and live on wherever you get your Yahoo football content. We are here for the how and the why around the National Football League. The how and the why with, as we sit here today, 16 days before the opener in Philadelphia, where the Eagles begin their defense of their Super Bowl championship against the Dallas Cowboys, who currently don't have Micah Parsons on the practice field in Dallas. We'll get to that story coming up shortly. When will either side blink? Will either side blink? But to take you through the next hour, it's not just me talking to myself, because that can get tiresome. It's these two gentlemen, these football reporting savants joining me as well. Frank Schwab and Charles Robinson. Gentlemen, when do I get the classy map of a random city behind me? How, Frank, do I get one of those?
Yeah, I could find my way through downtown Denver. I just have to take this 84-inch screen everywhere I go to get the Colfax. So, but it's probably on its way, Andrew. You just got to pick one. You just got to pick one and go with it.
It's great when you've ordered like DoorDash because the car is really big on the screen as you watch it come toward you.
You know where your Popeyes order is. It's great. Yeah.
True story. Years ago, I used to actually in this room, the room in which I am now sitting, have a similar massive monitor from NFL Network. And it was so big, it took up the entire room, and it had like a little remote, and we could change all the backdrops and all of that. And the day that COVID ended and we stopped doing shows from home, you would think I would have gone, like, take the TV and hang it on a wall in another room, right? Because, hey, free TV. I'm like, no, get it out of here. The thing is so big, it is suffocating the room. It is suffocating the house. And it didn't even have a massive map in it. So you guys win. And some people don't even have maps, but you do. Let's get to the news. All right, let's get to the news in Indianapolis, where as it stands right now, after the Browns made their decision, there is only one quarterback battle still left, and that is the one in New Orleans, because the one today in Indianapolis went the direction that I think a lot of us kind of sort of figured it was going. It is not Anthony Richardson, the number 4 overall pick at one point just 3 years ago. It is now Daniel Jones, the former number 6 overall pick for the New York Giants, who signed an affordable $14 million contract. Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback. And it opens up a lot of questions. Number 1, is it over for Anthony Richardson? Number 2, does someone try to trade for Anthony Richardson? Number 3, is this Daniel Jones' job for the entire season? And number 4, what does it do for the locker room? I found it interesting today that another former top 10 pick, Quentin Nelson, a guy that will be a consideration one of these days for Canton, Ohio, had this to say.
I would say so. I think I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. You look around the league and see just like the consistency of having like Patrick Mahomes or like a quarterback behind you that's like been the franchise player for years and years and years, and getting to build that chemistry with that quarterback year after year is something that there is an advantage to when it comes to O-line play. So to answer your question, yeah.
To answer your question, yeah, Frank, it is frustrating because there are plenty of teams that have gone on a quarterback carousel. Few, however, have spun that carousel like the Colts.
I mean, especially since the night Andrew Luck retired, we all remember that. And this one is tough because, boy, they swung big and just missed completely, it seems like. Now, I look, is it over for Anthony Richardson? No. I fully expect him to start games for the Colts this year just because I honestly don't think Daniel Jones is going to hold that job for 17 games. Like, I don't think Daniel Jones is that good to just pencil him in the whole season. I think at some point, Anthony Richardson gets another shot. But, part of me says Anthony Richardson should have just got the job. Like, give him the job. Let him start more than 15 games for your franchise before you make this big decision. You understand why Daniel Jones gets this job. Shane Steichen is on the hot seat. Chris Ballard is on the hot seat. Daniel Jones runs the offense better right now. The ceiling of the Indianapolis Colts is much lower with Daniel Jones, their quarterback. Don't get it wrong. But go back to that first preseason game. And I would guess anyway that this play stuck in their heads when they made this decision. Anthony Richardson doesn't know where the rush is coming from his right. Every single former quarterback has broken down that play. We've all seen it by now where he had two guys open to the right. He should have hit the hot. He didn't even see it. He looked to his left. And in some point, Shane Steichen has to be saying, I can't trust my coaching future with this guy who can't read this play. And that's
right.
kind of where Anthony Richardson is. It's hard. It stinks for Anthony Richardson, who is basically being given up on when he was a long-term project to begin with. But the Colts found themselves in a position where they just didn't have time to wait for him to get better.
Yeah. And Frank, I'm glad you pointed out that play, because really on one side of the fence, you're going to have people who say, wait a minute, when they drafted him, all we heard was super raw coming out of Florida, needs a lot of time. This is going to be years, developing him as a project. So what are you doing now, pulling this plug, when wasn't this supposed to be part of the process, going through this pain? It was, but the problem was Anthony Richardson was not progressing on quarterback 101 things. Okay. And that was a big deal. And I'm glad that we had sound from Quentin Nelson, because something happened early in this training camp that should have made everyone stop and go, uh-oh, this is a problem. The offensive line had to meet with Anthony Richardson at one point early on in training camp to talk about getting his cadence down consistent. That is crazy to be dealing with that 3 years into a player's career, especially when you're talking about offensive linemen who have been with him for those 3 years. A lineman on the level of a Quentin Nelson should not have to go to Anthony Richardson and say, listen, man, your cadence it's not consistent, and it creates problems where there are going to be false starts. There's just going to be pre-snap penalties if we cannot get this cadence down. And that was early in camp. And I thought to myself, I'm like, if you're still working on cadence with this guy, what have you really learned in 3 years? Because that is such a basic thing that quarterbacks start to work on, early on as rookies. And you should really have that down once you're entering into your second year in the league. Whether or not you've been the full-time starter or not, you can still work on that cadence with the line. And, so I think when you get to year 3, he's once again missing blitz protections at the line, where he should know who the free blitzer is, who the hot read is on that play, and he gets injured. And I think about the cadence issues. I just stare at Anthony Richardson and I say, okay, it's year 3 now. What can legitimately the staff sit down and map it out and say, here's how much he's learned, here's how far we have to go? I think it's such an immense distance to the other shore with him. You had to go to Daniel Jones at this point just to see if you can win games and develop other players on the roster.
And
Charles,
Charles, one real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
One real quick thought on this is, it is, when we take a step back and look at it, it didn't seem so in the moment, but right now it's insane that they drafted him 4th overall. What's the difference between him and Joe Milton, really? Like, I mean, they're both kind of the same player, right? One went in the 6th round, where he has no pressure on him whatsoever to develop. If he comes along, great. That's where Anthony Richardson should have gone. And I don't think that a pick like this is going to happen again for a long, long time. This pick happened because everybody's like, oh, Josh Allen was inaccurate in college, we'll figure it out. And it's just a guy with 13 starts in college who had the issues he did. No amount of because if you could guarantee a guy, okay, we'll give you 6 years to play and figure this all out, cool, but that's not realistic in the NFL anymore. No staff has that. No team has that. It just isn't going to happen.
You can't. Josh Allen's an interesting parallel. I almost think it's a Trey Lance parallel. Trey Lance was really only a 1-year starter at North Dakota State. Right. There was the COVID year in there as well. Anthony Richardson, and I did some deep digging earlier today, not that deep, just over a cup of coffee, started 13 games. We know that at Florida. He has started now only 15 games. He had the benching last year. We've had multiple injuries as well. So he has started in his football career outside of high school 28 games. In comparison, of all the quarterbacks who were drafted this past April, only one of them started fewer games just in college, and that was Kyle McCord, who played at 2 big-time programs at a high level at both Ohio State and at Syracuse. Dylan Gabriel started 63 college games. Laugh all you want. That experience means something. Shedeur Sanders started 50 college games. That experience means something. If you're going to develop them, you got to develop them. But you can't take Quentin Nelson and a huddle full of grown men and say, this guy who isn't ready is now going to be thrown in there and lead you through your prime years when your clock on your football mortality is ticking.
And that's the thing too. Josh Allen, who we talk about, he had played football, right? He played at Wyoming. He was a starter for more than 1 year at Wyoming. Now, there was a lot of raw ability there to develop, but he had played football. The Trey Lance parallel is perfect. It really is. And I think when you now look at Richardson and you say, where does this guy go from here? I think
I'd try to trade for him. I would. I'd call the Colts up and say, I'll give you 30 cents on the dollar. I don't think they would do it. Do you?
But see, here's the thing, Andrew. Are you trading? Is it the same thing as the Trey Lance situation where the Dallas Cowboys send a fourth, right, for Trey Lance? Mm-hmm. Almost immediately when they got their hands on him, they were like, Cooper Rush is going to end up being our backup through the rest of this guy's contract. We
overpaid.
Like we overpaid. Trey Lance is never going to be better than a third quarterback for us, and we'll play him in some exhibition games, and maybe we can get some interest that way. And then it just never really developed. Now Trey Lance goes into the LA Chargers. He's with a coach in Jim Harbaugh and a general manager and Joe Ortiz. Harbaugh, an offensive coordinator, and Greg Roman. Remember, Harbaugh and Greg Roman were together when they salvaged Alex Smith's career, which really effectively Alex Smith did not get himself into a starting spot and secured for 6 years. It took 6 years for Alex Smith really to get it down, but it happened under Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman. If I'm Anthony Richardson, I'm his agent, I'm sitting there going, okay, it's probably not going to be here. What do we want? We want like a Sam Darnold situation where we can go somewhere and get a reboot. Maybe it's, remember Sam Darnold went through Kyle Shanahan before he got to Kevin O'Connell. And that's two guys I definitely would want to have their hands on my quarterback, but hopefully to have Anthony Richardson, not even in a backup spot, put him in a third string spot, say, look, we're starting over from scratch here. We're tearing it down to the studs, and we're going to just teach and learn football from a basic level. You got a long runway to go. The physical traits aren't going anywhere. Let's just do this from the ground up. And it has happened. People will forget Drew Brees got benched in the third year of his career in San Diego. He had effectively lost that job, got it back that season, and showed enough to take over the starting position moving forward. We talked about Alex Smith, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. There are other guys out there that have had reclamations happen in their career, including, by the way, Baker Mayfield, who went through a multitude of teams before he settled down in Tampa. It can happen. He just needs to make the right decision here, and a team needs to make the right decision when they acquire him and say, this is a guy who's on our back burner. Tell the fan base it's a project. He's our third quarterback, and we'll work with him.
Is there anything at all to be said about maybe the Colts kind of did him wrong a little bit in that when you draft a guy like this, you can't give him 15 starts and pull the plug. You got to say, look, we know it's going to be tough, but we're going to give him the full. He's got a 5-year contract, basically, with the option. We're going to see this thing through. To pull the plug after 2 years, it's just kind of, it's almost disingenuous a little bit because you knew it wasn't going to happen within 2 years, especially when he missed 19 games due to injury. I started 15. I just wonder if they should have saw this through a little bit. I don't think any of us disagree that Daniel Jones isn't the answer, right? I don't think that's the case.
I asked both of you guys, when he tapped himself out of the game, don't you think the Colts were knocked off their axis there? Yeah, that's what I felt like. I felt like that was the moment that changed everything in the work.
Charles, I have asked active players and former players, at least a dozen of them in the last year. Just somehow it's come up in conversation at a restaurant, on a field, wherever. That question, have you ever seen that happen at any level? A quarterback say, I'm tired, and in plus territory go, I'm out. And they said, never, ever. Now, I've had some come back and go, but give the kid a break. Like, I'm willing to show him grace, and after he learned his lesson, I'd welcome him back, right? I'm not going to ruin the kid's career. I'm not going to say it's over for him. Like, I'm going to wrap my arms around him as a veteran and still try to bring him back in the fold. That's good, right? That's showing empathy. I totally get it. But no one's ever seen it before, and it's hard to truly come back for. And it goes back, Frank, to your point, like, do you deserve more games? Yeah, but this isn't a developmental league. And so for a coach, a GM,
but that's why they shouldn't have made that pick. That's why you can't make that pick and say, well, it's not developmental.
It's not the NBA.
It's hard. It's yes.
Right. That was an NBA draft pick. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We're going to take a traits guy at the top of the draft over a guy with production in college football who we're not really sure if he has all the traits, but he's a winner and he produced so on and so. But we're going to take a traits guy. You look at the NBA draft. We're taking some kid from Europe we've never heard of, and he's 17 years old, but he's got a crazy wingspan. He could jump out of the gym, and we're going to project his traits and say in 3 years he'll be fine. Okay, great, but there's no D-League in the NFL. And when it comes to the quarterback, the most important position on the field, you just can't do it. Daniel Jones, by the way, for the record, has won a playoff game on the road, for what it's worth.
Andrew.
Yes, Charles.
There is a D League for the NFL. It's college football. So he should have just stayed.
Correct.
He should have just stayed another year. That's and by the way, that's the downfall of the NFL too. The NFL has an advisory committee, right? That tells you where you're going to be drafted. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that the same advisory committee doesn't go to a player and go, hey, yeah, you know what? You're a first round pick, but we want you to know, based on our knowledge and where you are at in your career in college, we would advise you to go back to college and develop yourself so that you don't come onto the NFL stage and get forced into a bad situation as a quarterback and have the franchise potentially ruin your career. Don't just advise them on where their draft positioning is. Advise them on whether or not they have enough experience, particularly at the quarterback position, to enter onto an NFL experience with what is going to be likely a bad franchise and be put into a spot similar to Anthony Richardson and a number of other quarterbacks. Bryce Young walking into the Carolina Panthers situation and getting so mentally fried that he had to be sat down just to reboot mentally, which thankfully for the Carolina Panthers worked. But that was a guy with a ton of experience at the highest level program in college. Think about that.
Plenty of quarterbacks over the years have gone back. I remember Matt Leinart went back when everyone said he was ready. He wasn't ready to leave college. He wanted to enjoy it. Good for him. Speaking of the Colts, Zach Kiefer's got a great piece in The Athletic today about Andrew Luck, who could have come out. He went back to Stanford, wanted to stay with his guys. Obviously, that's a much different story. He would have been ready, but he went back to college. Drew Aller probably was getting his name called opening night of the draft this year on
Arch
Thursday.
Manning.
Arch Manning. I was just going to say,
exactly. Drew Aller went back to school, and I think most people would say from a football perspective was probably the right thing. And now he gets thrown into a very crowded quarterback class next year, but my head hurts. I do not want to look at the quarterback class next year yet. Let's look at the old quarterbacks this year. Coming up next on Inside Coverage, is Aaron Rodgers going to play this weekend? We'll tell you. And which one of his teammates was back on the practice field today and what it actually means. That's coming up next. Charles, Frank, I'm Andrew. Don't go anywhere. It's inside coverage on Yahoo and the YouTubes, as some people would call it. My name is Andrew. That is Frank. That is Charles. We are here for the How and Why every night, Monday through Thursday. Everything going on in the National Football League. It wasn't that long ago, guys, that every final preseason game, when we had 4 preseason weeks, was on Thursday night. Everybody played Thursday night. That's when there was no week between the end of the preseason and the beginning of the regular season. You got all the games out of the way, and then you had a nice long weekend. Because there are now only 3 preseason weeks. It is a full weekend all across the calendar, including 2 games coming up tomorrow night. The Patriots and the Giants, and the Steelers and the Panthers. Mike Tomlin made the announcement today that when the Steelers go to Carolina, 4 of his biggest names will not play. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, TJ Watt, and Cam Heyward. Not exactly surprising, but it means, Charles, as you pointed out on our text thread, that Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf will throw in a competitive period against someone other than teammates for the very first time together week 1 when they face the Jets. So that will be their dress rehearsal for the big premiere. It'll all be the same game.
Is that not ideal? Are you telling me?
I don't know that.
Are you suggesting? Are you suggesting maybe you would want a little more practice time between your number 1 wide receiver and the quarterback you waited the entire offseason to get him into the building and finally acclimate with players? Yeah, it's a little problematic, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if there is a slow start for the offense with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, maybe the plan is early on, hey, we're going to be run heavy in the offense as Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith and the offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and DK Metcalf and everyone gets on the same page. That I would not be surprised. But to me, it guarantees, again, when you don't have your quarterback repping consistently. Now, I will say this. Rodgers did rep privately with DK Metcalf at UCLA prior to Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's not like it's a total lack of familiarity there. And they are both high-level veterans. DK knows how to run all the parts of the route tree. Rodgers obviously is going to know where DK is supposed to be, but there's that next level of chemistry that veteran quarterbacks get with their number 1 wide receivers, where sometimes it's nonverbal chemistry, where they know certain things, they see certain looks, and all they need to do is look at each other to make a route adjustment and make a big play happen. I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have that. It might not be until, October, November, beyond before they really get that down. So not great. I would say that, this fits the offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you ask me. A lot of uneven kind of it's been a roller coaster, a lot of ups and downs getting them to this point. And this is the last hurrah. And boy, I would wish it would be a little more well-oiled going into it.
I think it's a little overrated. I mean, we act like because Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers didn't play the preseason that these guys haven't been doing anything. Like they're just going to meet in New York. Like, hey, I'm DK, I'm Aaron. No, they practice every day. Like
you're going to be killing Rodgers.
You play them.
You're going to be killing them by October.
You think it's going to take October? Well, okay, so they play them 1 series, 2 series. Aaron Rodgers throws the ball to DK Metcalf 3 times, which would kind of be a lot for 2 series. And they're humming. They're ready to go week 1 against the Jets. They've been practicing the whole. Aaron got that.
When the Jets traded for Devontae Adams, what did we hear for the first couple weeks? And it was 2 players who had known each other forever, played together forever. They were basically brothers from another mother. And all we heard was, oh, they're still kind of getting the kinks worked out. They're still, they're not quite there yet, but they're going to get there. And then it took them until what? Like the last month of the season before they really clicked together as players. So you can't sit there and tell me that it doesn't matter with DK Metcalf, but it most definitely mattered with Devontae Adams. So you think 3
targets in the preseason? You think 3 targets in the preseason matters that much?
I think anything you can do in live action matters.
And I agree with you. I'm the guy, after doing Rams preseason games for 14 years, the last time any ever was Sean McVay, that firmly believes that you shouldn't put your big name players at risk in the preseason. Do it in a joint practice. I don't need to see you in the preseason. But I'm with you, Charles. You can wonder aloud if that's going to affect your early season sloppiness and chemistry. Don't worry, they only open the season at the Jets against Justin Fields, the quarterback that for all intents and purposes he's replacing. And oh yeah, by the way, the Jets in the building where Aaron Rodgers has played his last 2 years. So nothing in any way whatsoever will get blown out of proportion week 1 with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets if for some reason the Steelers don't look up to form. Not at all.
I think Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs now playing in the preseason with the Packers. He didn't play from 2018 on.
I really don't care.
Give me a break.
Like watching the preseason game last night when Jaden Daniels
Sean
was
McVay
scrambling
Nation.
And yeah, when Jaden Daniels was scrambling last night and he's running for that touchdown, like if I'm a Commanders fan, and Dan Quinn even intimated it as much afterwards, like put your hands over your face and say, oh my God, get down. When Joe Burrow's in there on that third series and he's getting thrown down, you could almost hear it in Joe Buck's voice. I was on a Zoom upstairs in my kitchen. I had the game on. I interrupted the Zoom by going, what are you doing? And I'm not a Bengals fan. Like, get down. Like, for who, for what? To quote Ricky Waters.
Sean McVay got this right. Sean McVay figured this out way before everybody else. The preseason does not matter. We'll see in September. Yeah, we might struggle for a half. I'm willing to give that up for. How many injuries have we seen this month? Like, it's been a ton. And I honestly don't think like 12 snaps of Aaron Rodgers in the preseason matters at all. Like they're going to be what they're going to be. If they struggle, it's because he's 42 years old, and no quarterback at 42 years old has ever had any success other than Tom Brady. That's why.
Yeah,
preseason.
And if they struggle because he's 42 and it's a new team and it's this and it's that, it wouldn't have mattered in the preseason anyway, because he was just going to struggle in the preseason had they played him anyway. Okay, so fine, get it out of the way in the preseason. Put him in there for 2 series. Okay.
Aaron Rodgers has played more football than just about everybody else on the planet, but like 10 snaps against who wasn't even playing as
post Achilles. How good does he look, Frank? How much high level MVP?
He's a 41-year-old man. He's not going to look good. How many quarterbacks at 41 have looked even as good as he did last year?
Then why sign him? Then why sign him, Frank? If you're going to sign him,
because it was 1:55 at bar time, and you're looking around and you're saying, there's only one person left. We got to sign Aaron Rodgers. What else are we going to do? Start Mason Rudolph? Like, that's why they signed Aaron Rodgers. We both did that.
You can buy an old car and then go, well, I can't drive it. Then just don't buy the old car if you can't drive it. It's there for one purpose, to drive it. The quarterback's there to play quarterback, right? So if you're so scared of breaking him because he's old, then what the hell are you bringing him in for in the first place? Like, what a complete
because your other car is
only so many miles.
Your other car's Mason Rudolph, whatever the equivalent of that is. That's why you take a shot on the 1992 Porsche, right? Like, yeah.
Let's do one more Steelers story here, because this is notable today about practice. Cam Heyward, who's 36 years old and a friend of the program, a guy that I've done some stuff with at NFL Network. Love the guy. He knows the end is near. Maybe this is the last year. He's been holding in. He wants a sweetener to his contract. As of yet, he has not gotten it. Cam Heyward was on the practice field today. Kind of sort of looks, Charles, as if the hold-in might be over. Mike Tomlin on the podium was asked, hey, he's back on the field. Does that mean there's some kind of movement on the contract or something new or something to report? And Mike Tomlin said in his classical curt fashion, you go ask him. In other words, not my problem. So, Charles, anything to report on Cam Heyward?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not going to continue to work on the deal, but I think Cam Heyward knows he's not missing game checks, right? And, I brought up when we were talking off air earlier, I brought up the idea that, like, Cliff Kingsbury of the Washington Commanders, the OC, goes out there and he says, without saying Terry McLaurin's name, he says, hey, this is the time in the preseason where if you're going to play games, you got to be on the field at this point to get ready, right? Like, there's one thing about missing time or hold-ins or all these other things, but there is a point in the preseason where if you're a veteran, you do need this miniature ramp-up period, and this is where the miniature ramp-up period starts, is this week heading into the kickoff. It's basically the 2-week period before we start playing live games. And so I think Cam Heyward knows that. He's not missing a game check. So he says, okay, I'm going to get back on the field now and work and be ready to go when the season kicks off. And I have no doubt that they're continuing to work on some kind of adjustment. And as you said, use the word sweetener. I really think that's where the zone is to make some kind of an adjustment to his contract, is to give him some kind of incentive that is very reachable and gives him a little bit more money in his 36th year on the planet Earth.
I'm just very worried that he's not going to play in the preseason. How could that guy ever get ready for? Anyway.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we also knew this was coming, right? Like, I mean, Cam Heyward.
Rodgers wasn't a hold-in. Get over it, Frank. Rodgers wasn't.
Yeah, he was practicing. That matters, actually.
Yeah.
When I heard
you're comparing apples and spoons. Like, what are you just
when the news came today, I honestly forgot Cam Heyward had been holding in, like, because it just was like, this will get done eventually. Something will happen. Cam Hayward's not missing games. Like, we all kind of knew that. And hopefully the Steelers take care of him. He is not only one of the best players in the NFL, he's one of the best people in the NFL too. Won Walter Payton Man of the Year. I think they're going to do right by him. The Steelers always do right by the players they kind of should do right by.
You guys have I've never really been in the middle of it before, a very Stadler and Waldorf kind of feel.
Oh, this is what we do. You missed out, Andrew. You're just
say that lovingly. Oh, I've listened to the show plenty. I have. I'm more of the, like, go work out, listen to the pod kind of guy. But like to see it
just
like
wait till
this.
we're
like,
in person this week. Just wait.
Yeah,
we're gonna need a bouncer in between us, Charles.
It's only the preseason. All right, coming up, instead of the old men, how about the rookies? Who have we seen so far through 2 weeks of the preseason that we think are actually going to do something come week 1 of the regular season? We have a list because we like lists. The rookies to keep an eye on, coming up next on Inside Coverage. All right, friends, it's Inside Coverage. That is Frank. That is Charles. Hi, my name is Andrew. We are here at 6:30 Eastern Time on YouTube and on the Yahoo platform every single Monday through Thursday throughout your NFL season, an NFL season that reconvenes in the preseason to wrap it up this coming Thursday, 2 days from now. Steelers, Panthers, Patriots, Giants to open it up. We also wrapped up week 2 of the preseason last night, where over 5 million Americans watched a blowout. The Commanders and the Bengals. Joe Burrow played. He looked great. He got sacked and we got scared, but he is okay. Also in that game, this is not an I told you so, but it actually is an I told you so. When yesterday we told you Brian Robinson's not going to play, he might get traded. Dan Quinn kind of tap danced around that, but kind of sort of confirmed. Well, yeah, we told him Saturday he's not going to play. We'll have to deal with it. We told you to keep an eye on the rookie from Arizona, even though he only had a cup of coffee at Arizona, like one game. That's it. The rookie Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who goes by the name Bill, after a cartoon he used to watch as a little kid. He didn't have a lot of hair. The cartoon character, Bill, didn't have a lot of hair. Guys, Bill is the real deal. And I don't know that you should be drafting Bill in the first round of your fantasy thing coming up in a little bit, but actually, no, you shouldn't. But if you're in one of those deep leagues and you want to stash Bill at the back of your bench to hold him for later in the year, Bill has talent. Bill Krosky Merritt can run. Get to know him. He is the new darling in Washington. Frank, who do you like so far of the rookies? Not named Bill.
I think my highlight player both weeks has been the same guy, and it's the guy I think should start for the Giants week 1. I'm kind of on board with this now that Jackson Dart is 2012 Russell Wilson, ironically enough, where you just get to the point in the preseason where the kid just keeps playing really, really well and doing more and impressing. You just say, hey, if he's our best quarterback, why not just play him? Look, Russell Wilson's had a great career, 9 Pro Bowls, Super Bowl win, and then another NFC championship. He was on his way to the Hall of Fame before he got traded to the Broncos. We all know how it's gone after that. But right now, Russell Wilson just gives you such a low ceiling. Like, what are you doing? If this is what we're going to see out of Jackson Dart, and I get they simplified things for him. A lot of no huddle where things are simple for the quarterback, but he was, I believe, 15 of 17 against the Jets. The offense is moving. He's making plays. Everybody's rallying around him. I think we're to the point, just play the kid week 1. Why not? Like, let's see what he's got, because you know what you got with Russell Wilson. I think Jackson Dart's our best quarterback, and I think he's our best quarterback right now.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I'm interested in. I'll tell you what, when the schedule came out for me, I looked at September 7th and I circled the Raiders at the Patriots because I'm sitting there going, Ashton Genty, I want to see Ashton Genty play. Loved watching him play, obviously, in college. But now that I've been through the preseason, it's his counterpart in that game. Travion Henderson has been the one player who I swear every snap I've watched the ball in his hand, he's had this just electricity to him and a gear that is uncommon. Obviously, the first touch he ever has in the NFL is a 100-yard kickoff return against the Washington Commanders. But, I mean, he has shown receiving the ball, running the ball, returning kicks. He's just different out there on the field. And, I wouldn't put his gear in the class of Adrian Peterson, but I can't remember the last time I saw a player touch the ball maybe the first 5 times ever in his entrance in the NFL and been like, oh my God, like what? Well, that is crazy. And it's not like we didn't see it at Ohio State. We did. You just never know if it's really going to translate once you see other NFL caliber players flying around alongside him. So I'm really, really excited to watch Travion Henderson and I mean, really face Ashton Genty, on the opposite side of the ball in that Raiders Patriots game in the season opener.
Just to add real quick, that touchdown Travion had is a 4-yard loss for like 95% of backs right now, starting backs. Like it was like,
ball wasn't that big.
Jaw dropping.
Slid through the hole. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was
he's got juice. I did a couple of Ohio State games the last 2 years, and he's not only great in open space, he can run between the tackles, which I think is this, there's this misperception.
He can pass block.
The biggest guy. Yeah,
he
can pass
can.
block. That's what I'm getting at. He is a violent pass blocker, and I've said this 1,000 times. You guys both know this. You talk to any offensive coach, and the question for a rookie running back or about a rookie running back is always, can you trust him in pass pro? Can you trust him on third down? Is he going to get your quarterback killed? You can trust this guy. And you probably could have trusted him before he even picked up his playbook in rookie minicamp. He has that unique ability. I thought it was also interesting that Ashton Genty today, I don't know if you guys saw this on the podium, just your, random Tuesday availability. And somebody asked him about the truck stick. He went viral, blew a guy up, in the preseason game on Saturday. And he suggested that, like, oh, yeah, people doubted that I can do that. And, I got to prove them wrong. I'm like, dude, whatever chip on your shoulder you need, whatever works for you. But no one doubts, if they watch you at Boise State, that you can not only go around people, but you can go through people. I want to go back to the Jackson Dart thing. I had said all year that Jackson Dart, or all summer, was going to start like mid-season. I'm with you, Frank. I don't know, though, that I'm ready to go week 1, but I am with you that that timeline should be moved up. I just don't know if Brian Daboll, no matter how good the kid looks in the preseason, no matter how much swag he has, although I don't know that I like the whole Anakin Skywalker, like Hayden Christensen face paint thing. I love that he loves Star Wars, but not the best character to emulate. But do you put him on the road at Washington, at Dallas, and then home for Kansas City in primetime to open up your NFL career? And
honestly,
then,
Andrew,
those first
two defenses aren't that bad. Washington is not great defensively. Dallas might not have Micah. We'll talk about that. There's not going to be a great spot to put anybody in. You know, like
I get it. I just don't know, because it's not the anti-Anthony Richardson thing where you knew he needed time, but most agreed that Jackson Dart might need, if not a full red shirt, at least half a red shirt. And I just don't want them to fall in love too early and then just say, yes, let's go, because you always run the risk. You know what I'm saying? But man, he looks good.
And why not have the tool in the belt when you need it, right? Like, you know it's there. You're like, okay, we feel pretty comfortable with him now, but let's go ahead and start with the vet. We'll go with Russ. We'll see how far this takes us. And then we have the ability to switch. Whereas, you come out of the gate with Jackson Dart, you never know. I mean, maybe he does start out hot, but as soon as he gets 5 or 6 games worth of film, what's going to happen? Defensive coordinators are going to go, okay, well, here's exactly what he can't do. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, by the end of October, the beginning of November, they're starting to solve him, and he hits a little bit of a rookie wall. I like being able to go to the tool a little bit further into the season.
Yeah, all fair points. But man, he looks good. He looks special. Good.
He looks special. A couple of other names. Cam Ward looks special, even though he's picking fights with Jeffrey Simmons. The best pass maybe I saw all weekend was dropped by Van Jefferson, and I mean by any quarterback. Yeah. The ball that he threw in the first quarter on that opening drive was, they should hang it in some kind of museum. It was that good, and it was dropped. And with the McMillan injury as well, and that's a serious one, it seems. Glad he's okay, but he's going to be out a while, the wide receiver in Tampa. Emeka Egbuka, and maybe this is a fantasy one. I would be buying Emeka Egbuka right out of the gate, because if there is any player – but you know what? There's a Travion Henderson comp that is polished and ready, and they both came from Ohio State. To be the guy day one as a pro, it's Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that dude is an operator.
Especially, Chris Godwin has issues. Now Jalen McMillan, like you said, is hurt. He's going to have to play a big role right away, but he's ready for it. He was ready coming out of Ohio State, like most of those receivers are from there.
Absolutely. Guy hung around. He could have come out, hung around, and tutored Jeremiah Smith, who could be the greatest Buckeye wide receiver of them all. And yes, I know how heavy that sounds, but just, wait and see. Coming up next, it is still wait and see in Dallas. The Cowboys have broken camp in California. They are back home. Micah Parsons is still not on the practice field. When will either side blink? Don't blink. We're back with that after this on Inside Coverage. So 15 days from right now, the Dallas Cowboys. Hi, Frank. Hi, Charles. Hi, I'm Andrew. Thanks for watching Inside Coverage. The Dallas Cowboys will get on an airplane, and they will fly from DFW to Philadelphia. Maybe in Philadelphia their plane will be on time, but that's highly unlikely considering that airport. But that's another story. Don't let my frustrations take over the show. But we're 2 weeks away, guys, in essence, because the Cowboys and the Eagles play the kickoff opener on NBC on Thursday. Charles, there is still no Micah Parsons deal, and there are some people that think this thing is heading for a divorce. Is either side going to blink, and when?
Yeah, I mean, it's we talked about the whole idea of like, hey, is this some kind of, Jerry Jones marketing ploy at this point?
Yeah, do you still buy that?
With it, no, because to me, once Micah said I'm not speaking, and then now you have the Cowboys kind of battening down the hatches. Sometimes you get to the silence and you sit there and you go, something's going on. This feels positive, but I think you will see something develop on the field. Remember when we talked about James Cook? All of a sudden, James Cook steps on the practice field. Next thing you know, he's got a deal and we're rolling again. It doesn't feel like that in Dallas. Not at all. And if anything, it feels like we're now moving toward the regular season, and there's a realistic question of, is there a chance that Micah misses some regular season games? And I think speculating about, does Micah attempt to play out this season and then push for the trade, next off season? Once the conversation starts to move toward that, I think you're looking at something that's really serious here. And I can't stop going back to sitting there at Jerry Jones' opening press conference in Oxnard and him bringing up Emmitt Smith in the year that Emmitt Smith sat out of the first couple of games during that, contentious negotiation, and thinking at the time, like, man, is he already signaling that he's willing to go ahead and, go into the season without Micah? And I thought I was being crazy, but he's brought it up a few times since then too. So there's nothing to indicate to me that they've actually gotten any closer in any way, shape, or form, or that the Jones ownership is going to reach out to David Mulugheta, his agent.
One other thing that he's brought up is the franchise tag. And I think that's where Micah is really in trouble here because, I mean, okay, Micah,
like all NFL teams, there are 2 franchise tags.
Yep.
Yep. And it's like,
and his 5th-year option.
If you want to play hardball here, Micah, you're not going to be a free agent until 2028. But hey, you do you. I think Jerry's dug in. I really do. Like all of his comments this time, I compare this to like CeeDee Lamb or Zach Martin or whatever other standoffs he's had. Dak. This one just seems a little different, and I don't know why exactly, but he just seems like, I'm willing to wait this out. I'm willing to win this. And I don't know. It's a little weird. No, I don't think he's there week 1. It's getting impossible to believe that now.
Didn't you guys think the tone got a little more serious once Jerry started bringing up, hey, there's no deadline. This guy's under contract already. Why do I have to work a deal when we've got a guy who's already signed? He signed a contract.
Which by the way,
to me, I'm like,
which he didn't say before.
It's always the leverage the team has. And Jerry has made the point as well that there is no hard and fast rule that after year 3, we have to do a deal with a first-round pick. The Bengals waited another year. The Dolphins waited another year. I argue the Dolphins should have waited 1 more year, but that was just me. And they did the deal, and so be it. Just because Kyler Murray and Eric Burkhardt hit send on a ransom note the day that we all landed in Indianapolis heading into his 3rd year or after his 3rd year, I demand a contract now, doesn't mean that all these deals need to be done now. I agree with you on Jerry's tone. I also think if you go all the way back to that press conference, Charles, where my jaw was on the floor a little bit as well, but not necessarily for what he said, what you just repeated, but when he said, hey, I've also paid guys too early, like Travion Diggs, for example. And that was a shot that I think resonated even more in the locker room than anything said about Micah. It's, hey, I regret paying some of your teammates. That hits home, I think, in a big, big way. There's also, and this is the elephant in the room as well, Micah's got a podcast. Micah's outspoken. Micah's not everyone's cup of tea. And I think there's always been this thought that, well, he's a great player, and Jerry loves the shiny object, Jerry's going to just like say, we're signing him regardless, and we're going to, all make up one of these days. But if Jerry gets to the point where he says, you know what, I don't know that I want to deal with this headache, then maybe, just maybe, he does put his hands up and say, I don't care. Sit out, or I'll trade you.
It's and by the way, Charles, you mentioned this, and I think it was interesting because you talked about Dan Quinn saying, "Hey, if you want to play week 1, you got to be here this week." Well, Dan Quinn, obviously Micah Parsons' old defensive coordinator, obviously he wasn't saying it about Micah Parsons, but I thought, wow, that's kind of true. Like, I know CeeDee Lamb signed 2 days before the season started, played that game, but he wasn't really ready. I wonder, like, you are, and they play early this year, obviously on a Thursday. You're getting to a point of no return. I mean, we saw Chris Jones do this 2 years ago with the Chiefs. He missed the first game. So, by this point, I'm thinking Micah's not there for the opener, especially with the early, like the Thursday says Sunday.
And remember too, if you're Micah, I wonder if you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I've played 4 years. I'm still, I'm in a situation where for me to sit out, for it to get really, really, really expensive for me is a franchise tag year, right? So don't you sit there and maybe say to yourself, this is kind of it. Like, if I'm going to miss games, if I'm going to kind of make a last stand here, this is my moment to do it, because it's a tag year. I mean, I'd have to look off the top of my head. I don't know what the franchise tag number looks like for edge rushers in 2026, but I can tell you it's a lot. It's gargantuan to tag an edge rusher. It's getting to the point where it's basically like tagging a quarterback. And those are game checks that really hurt when you miss them. Not that, a game check at this point doesn't hurt, but there's definitely a separation in salary where if you're going to make that stand at any point, this is the time when you make it.
One other thing real quick, Andrew, I just want to say, in the back of Micah's mind, I don't know, he would never say this. Maybe he doesn't even think of that often. He might be thinking, oh, you want to play without me against the Philadelphia Eagles? That offensive line, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Let's see, Jerry. All right, you think you can play without me? Cool. Let's see what happens against the Eagles week 1.
It's a fair point. I don't think he's trying to tank or to hang his teammates out. But yeah, the best leverage for a player is withholding services. It's just the way it is. Now, there's a financial cost to that, and the player has to decide. Trey Hendrickson, for example, also has to decide, will I withhold my services? I was looking up, Charles, you're asking about the franchise tag here. The 2025 numbers, so don't know next year's. The 2025 numbers for defensive end is 22, and for linebacker is 25.4. So that's the franchise tag. And then obviously, if they were to use the second tag, that number goes up exponentially. But we're a long, long way from that. But much like Hendrickson, there is connective tissue here, although very different, obviously, in ownership styles and age of the players, among other things. The difference is Micah Parsons has trade value. And I think Trey Hendrickson does as well. But Micah Parsons, You're getting a 1, at least a 1. But are you getting that deal done now? Everyone says Khalil Mack. Okay, that's great. Totally. Khalil Mack doesn't speak, right? Khalil Mack's almost mute. Micah Parsons
That's
isn't.
a good point.
So are you willing to do that deal right now? So, yeah, whoever you are. Maybe you're Chicago. I see all my Bears friends on my feed going nuts. The Bears should go get him. Okay, but are you going to write the check? You have to give up the picks and write the check right now.
Right. That is a good point. And I'm telling you, with the way Micah already shares his feelings now about this Cowboys organization and has in the last few years, imagine then getting a, $45 million annual average value contract with, $160 million guaranteed. Imagine getting that. You're basically a professor with tenure. You're going to say whatever the hell you want at that point.
You're an NBA player at that point. Yeah.
You're like, hey, I am a partial owner of this franchise now, and I'm going to go ahead and let you know exactly what I think about all of it. That's a great point. I never really thought about that. And believe me, that's something that teams worry about when they hand out contracts. Absolutely. There's always been that age-old question of, what do we do once we give a certain player money? Is something going to change, and then we're going to regret it on the other side of it, where now it's not the same individual necessarily, or we're taking certain traits and we're cranking them up to a 10.
We have 3 minutes remaining here. We began the show by saying, because the Colts have named a quarterback, the Browns yesterday named a quarterback, that there's only one job remaining. So let's tell you about that one job. It is the job quarterbacking the Saints of New Orleans. And it's between Tyler Shuck, who, as a second-round pick and an older quarterback, 26 years old when they drafted him, many just assumed he would easily get the job. However, don't discount Spencer Rattler, friends, because Spencer Rattler rallied them back to a tie with Jacksonville this week, had a touchdown, had a 2-point conversion. He's got a little moxie. He's got a year in the system. He could play a little bit, certainly. If you thought he was the guy, though, you wouldn't take Tyler Shuck at 26 years old in the second round. Shuck played 4 drives. Rattler played 5 drives. Some people say maybe they'll trade for Kenny Pickett. I would push back and go, Charles, why would the Saints trade for a veteran quarterback at all? Just pick one of these two guys, and I don't say, what does it matter? That sounds flippant and sarcastic and mean-spirited, but I don't think they're going to win a lot of games with either. Let's just be blunt.
They're closer to a drive-through window than a Super Bowl window. Just go with Shuck.
You drafted him. He's 26.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's not a developmental guy. Like, if he doesn't play right away, what the heck did you? Well, I've been saying all offseason,
what are we doing?
Did you draft him? It makes no sense. Just tank this thing. But I unfortunately,
you draft him to play him.
Yeah, you have.
You draft him to play
and if
him.
he doesn't, I've watched every snap of Saints preseason football, unfortunately, this year. And I could tell you, I probably think Rattler's the better choice right now, as sad as that sounds. But
why?
Either way, this is a bad football
why have
team.
you done that?
Andrew, you say the only team I haven't been positive about is the Browns. I will put the Saints in that category too. The Saints are going to be awful. Like, Kellen Moore, I hope they have patience with him because they're going to be bad.
Frank, in our final minute, I read your entire column about like the whole wrap-up of the preseason. Thank you. It was a great cheat sheet as I was flying home from the one game that I saw in person. You watched them all. I get it. It's part of the job. But every snap of the Saints in the preseason?
I deserve hazard pay. I'm going to be putting in for that. Joey, if you're still listening, I'm putting in hazard pay. I haven't watched the Saints team. Oh, they're bad.
Did you? Were you wearing a Guardian cap?
I was not wearing a Guardian cap. I was not wearing a Guardian cap.
No, but I have a Guardians cap over there. It's an old school one, I believe, from the Watertown, New York Penn League single A version of the team back in the 90s. But I'm aging myself. The show has also aged me as well. Guys, I love you. It's been fun. It's been fun arguing and talking and discussing. That is Frank. That is Charles. I'm Andrew. This is Inside Coverage, 6:30 Eastern Time, YouTube, Yahoo, every Monday through Thursday. Hasta mañana.